So BFL being in insurance, it's going through intense digitization, just like every other industry, I would say. We are seeing demand for speed and agility. We are seeing in an industry that's traditionally been paper-based, a thirst for improved customer experiences, vastly improved from what we had previously. And all of this we have to deliver while doing it very securely. And so what we found is, especially now, our technology is becoming so integral to the solutions that we provide to our customers. And so for us, the most success comes from us having cross-functional teams in place. And with that, what we're finding is that there is a bleeding of, crossing of traditional boundaries between what business participants would typically do and what our technology participants would typically do in that delivery. And so these are conditions that are causing us to rethink our strategy in many cases. And what we found in terms of application modernization in this space is that leading towards solutions that empower the businesses where we're actually finding the greatest success. And so with that, in particular, what we've done, Jeff, is we've really adopted and embraced the philosophy behind the low code, no code type methodology, right? And with that, I'm referring to cases where in some cases we've bought those technologies. And in some cases, even when we develop our own applications, they are developed with that philosophy in place also, meaning that our expectation is that the platform allows the business teams to be involved in the actual delivery, right? There is a platform that provides a robust technology foundation, and the business teams can actually configure and roll out what they need from there. So for us, the guiding principle is really, I would say, responsible enablement for the business teams. And we found that this really helps us to deliver the agility that we want, that delivers the customer experiences we want, but it also brings together a really strong partnership between the technology and the business teams.
So for our business, I think of it as a triangle. We have supply chain, and then we have our channels, primarily e-commerce and the branches, and then we have service. All three of those areas need to be very aligned in what they're doing. You don't want to do things in supply chain that you're not providing the service for, et cetera. So we drive it by those things operating very integrated and cohesively. And then to prove that out, where we think we're doing the right things, what proves it out is the voice of the customer, because no matter what you think you're doing, perception is reality. So whatever the customer is saying about how you're servicing and what their experience is, that's the reality. So then we drive it from that voice of the customer, looking at it at that triangular approach, and then we take a macro approach and a micro approach. And what I mean is, if we're getting voice of the customer feedback that says, my service wasn't good, or there's inconsistency when I use a channel, we're taking a micro approach on what things need to be changed to align that. And then we're taking a macro approach for the long term and how we progress and evolve that whole triangular evolution.
I think for all of us, we have the same pressure, no matter we're in the banking or previously I was in the retail industry or healthcare industry. The three pressures that we all have are like speed to the market, like every business wanted to launch yesterday. Second one is budget. They want a cheaper version of cost, right? The third one is we all, no matter where we are, where we go, we all have a set of legacy system that has been there since like 20 years, 30 years ago. So with those constraints or parameters that we can play, our game is how we leverage what we have, deconstruct what we have, and leveraging the reusable components. And so I took 3 steps from my application portfolio, creating creating the component architecture, like from the capability and functionality perspective, and creating that orchestration layer that can orchestrate between different functionalities, and creating that experience layer that can provide better focus on better customer experience. So I think that's an approach majority of us has taken in terms of re-architecture or refactoring our application portfolio to achieve the faster, better results.
digital technologies emphasize the need for a more agile IT strategy and also the need to invest for future business, right? So you've got a real opportunity to sit back and look downstream and have the right kind of technology put in place. I think you certainly have to build out your CI/CD to make sure that you can really continuously develop and improve and roll out when you need to. DevSecOps, of course, with the emphasis on security, has to be built out. You have to staff up and becomes a real pivot point just for you to implement quickly. I think those are very key areas. Certainly the IT operating model, like you have to constantly review the current IT operating model and start morphing it into how it's going to work in today and in the future. Because if you look at operating models from 5 years ago versus today, they're very different. And if you're not moving that operating model forward, then you're going to get far behind. And the last thing I would mention are partner ecosystems. Ecosystems bring new digital capabilities to your company, capabilities that you can't build. And if you think of logistics ecosystems, how you can track, how you can plan shipments, et cetera. Those things, you cannot build those things easily. And that's just a small example, but there's many ecosystems, including shopping carts, for order entry and portals, for tracking, et cetera. So we strongly believe in ecosystems, and I think that's going to continue to grow. And we're all going to have to become better brokers of ecosystems as we move forward.
My perspective, what we need to be thinking about in the face of innovation and rapid growth, which is happening faster and faster, is thinking about what are those barriers that are inhibiting us from moving forward very, very quickly. And so how many times do we have a partner that we put all of our eggs into that basket and that partner holds us back, right? And so I think about the architecture of our technology stack, not just as the widgets that we put in place, but strategically, who can you go out to so that if somebody fails or does not deliver, you have that flexibility to move on. So what we've done at Secure, which was not a very popular move when I first came in here, was to go with a multi-cloud environment and a hybrid environment. And so, one of those organizations could have very, very strong widgets that are they're so good at the technology stack. And the other one is very good on the innovation side, but their widgets aren't as good. And that's this moment in time. And we're benefiting from getting those resources to help us innovate and then utilizing the very strong widgets on the other side. That's just right now. And what we have to think about and be comfortable with in technology and in life is that everything is temporary. So at some point, that organization that has great innovation will not have great innovation. They might be the best widget maker in the future. And the other one with the great widgets might turn into that innovation powerhouse. With having that multi-cloud strategy and the hybrid environment, as those ships and currents start to move, we can move as well. And then we can leverage those partners as they build out their strengths and capabilities, and we continue to use that wind in our sails.
We are looking at critical attributes of our architecture from two major buckets perspective. One bucket I would call governance aspect, right? So there is always a need for stable, well understood and followed enterprise IT standards, architecture principles, IT strategy and roadmap, architecture and design patterns, which we use to implement business processes. And the second aspect is more implementation aspect, not saying that architecture doesn't play any role there, but it's more practical. So we need to ensure scalability, employee and client data security, and now we are also looking at introduction of AI ML, including generative AI. I don't know which we will land at the end of time with, right? To grow business and achieve a further automation of the processes and less manual work in our bank. And we also are looking right now extensively at support or transfer from agile to DevSecOps, right? So this is where we are right now.
we see in our own organization, while building and supporting hundreds of end user applications, the need to balance faster time to market and some of the empowerment that can come from allowing people to build and design using low-code types of interfaces and tools, with the need to maintain consistency, reliability, standardized architecture, security guarantees, and some of the considerations that can occur when you are allowing people to build flexibly in an agile manner. The way we've attacked this problem is thinking from the approach of standardization and reusability, specifically looking at standard approved workflows from a DevSecOps perspective and from a scaffolding perspective that can allow users to architect applications from a business unit perspective in a way that is safe and reasonably blessed from a DevOps perspective. The other piece that we've ended up using extensively is modularization, certifying individual components, making sure those components can be brought out to market by end users directly in their own applications at scale, and certifying those specific components for use across the organization, which helps balance the need for maintenance, security, and standardization with end users' desires to move more quickly. Lately, we've been looking more closely and thinking more extensively about how to safely deploy generative AI solutions as part of that as well, by using containerized approaches, using private instances of OpenAI's offerings to allow end users to build and manipulate code directly, ways that are a little bit more fast and flexible than have been offered in the past.